Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Happy Wednesday. Happy day. How are things with you? I hope everything's all right. Today, oh my goodness, what's the deal with this light? One second. I'm gonna fix this forever. Okay, sorry about that. Um, hello Nero. Hello, hey, hola, hippo. Um, yeah, today we're going to have one of these food for thought sessions because a couple of weeks ago, Zifar, I have an exam tomorrow. I shouldn't be here. I hope it's an exam of chess. Then you're in the right place. Um, Otherwise, good luck. Yeah. Um, Unfortunately, not. Well, then that's on you. You made you made terrible life choices if you have an exam that's not of chess. I suppose. Anyway, here Here we're about learning chess, and a couple of weeks ago we had this session on what was it? How to improve in chess, and we talked about many things. I don't think we talked a lot about how to improve in chess, but that's okay. We'll do more sessions, I guess. Um, but yeah, one of the topics there was about chess analysis that we only scratched the surface, I think. And at the same time, this week we had a couple of interesting conversations on Slack about engines and using engines to analyze. So, hey, thanks for the follow, Cypher. So, yeah, I think it's actually a very interesting topic. I hope you think the same. And my purpose today is to talk about it. How do you analyze your games? How do I analyze my games? How to use Lichess for that or other tools? And why not to use an engine? So basically, those are the the things I want to address today. Why should we analyze? Why should even beginners analyze their own games? How should we do it? How should we do it differently depending on our level? And probably also depending on our goals. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything in mind. Again, it's more of an open discussion, but I'm sure many interesting topics will appear on the table. And yeah, how to kick this off? You tell me. Do you analyze your games? How much do you spend analyzing your games, if you do? And how do you do it? Because nowadays, I think most people rely on these tools that analyze for you, like engines and both Lichess and Chess.com, which are like the top play zones out there. They give you this computer analysis immediately after the game. Cypher says, I analyze all of my games, but I always do it with the engine. That's interesting. Yeah, when you say all of your games, that's impressive. I mean, depending on how many. Yeah, for example, for me, I think I played thousands of games, and I don't analyze all of them. But for example, I analyze all of the classical time control ones. That's certainly the case, and I think it's important. I mean, um, I don't want to tell people what to do in general in life. And also, let's remember my number one rule about chess improvement is every person is different. So what works for me may not work for you. And I definitely don't want to tell people you should analyze 100% of your games. I think if you miss one, you're going to be fine. but but yeah, it's why is it good to analyze? Um, how to put it? If I had to answer that question, For a beginner, for example, why is it important? Because if you ask any advanced player, they will tell you, oh yeah, I analyze my games, I do this, I do that. Some people may like just looking with the engine very briefly. Some other people may like spending a lot of time on the analysis. I'm one of those guys. Like for me, if I spend 4 hours playing a game, I usually spend another four analyzing the game. Um, but yeah, maybe for other people it's just the post-mortem with the opponent what's valuable. So it definitely depends on many things, including what you like to do. Hey Robert, hey Mazzy. I like to go back, says Robert. I like to go back and check positions that I questioned. I love that. Or if I made a bold move that won, I like to check an engine to make sure it was sound or find my error. Yeah. I like that approach a lot, and that's very close to my own approach. The other day, okay, let's talk about it. The other day we were having this heated discussion on Slack about using engine versus not using engine in your analysis, and my main point was, don't use an engine, like in general, and and well, we talked about many points, but one of them, one argument against me or against not using an engine was that the engine tells you quickly, it gives you quick feedback on what's interesting about the game, like you make this mistake, or it brings up very fast certain things, so you discover mistakes, let's say, uh, quick with the engine. And my point to that was, well, first of all, that's what the engine says. Like, I think there are many interesting moments in the game, not just what the engine says. And second, that information, if you were really making an effort when you play the game, like for example in a long time control, then you have all the information already. You know what the main struggles were for you during the game, and so I like that approach of uh, focusing on what you thought was important to you during the game, like your main doubts, and then go check them after the game. Yeah. Robert says, I like to look at it first, uh, but check with an engine. I'm a human that can miss something. Yeah, right. Um, no, Masi, I'm not playing chess today. Sorry. We're just having an open discussion here. I don't think I'm gonna play. I'll bring up a board and I'll show some positions, I think for sure, but it's not. It's going to be analysis, not playing today. Um, yeah, one of the other topics that was very interesting about the engine is it feeds it feeds many bad habits. Hey, John. It feeds bad habits and shortcuts in your brain. And okay, maybe we need to go back to why we analyze, because I think the reason we analyze is to improve and to learn. Maybe some other people analyze for some other reasons, and there's the case of people that they played what it looked like a brilliancy, and then their only goal is to go check later with the engine to verify if it was really a brilliancy, so they can brag about it. So for some people, analysis is just to see if they can brag or not and things like that. But in general, I think the main goal of the game analysis is to learn and improve. And in that aspect, I think the engine is of very little help, because first of all, as I just said, the important moments in the game may not be what the engine is telling you they are. And then what the engine is going to tell you about anything is that absolute truth, or I don't know how to call it, but because it's not even the truth, but that that thing that looks a lot like the truth, or some kind of truth that we will never be able to assimilate as humans. And I don't know how's that useful for you. I look at losses more than wins for analysis. Right. That's also there's also an important bias here. We discussed about this some other day. I think there's this hindsight bias when depending on whether you win or lose, you look very differently at the game. And as Kasparov put it, it's much easier to learn from your losses than from your victories. But many times we play more or less the same level when we win and when we lose. So, yeah, the same mistakes that you can see in your defeats, you can probably see them in your victories. And it is a common bias not to look to your victories, except for what I said earlier about the bragging rights, about checking. Oh, was that really working? Oh yes, it was working. Yes, I did this beautiful move. Um, John says the engine tells me I am trash at chess and miss everything. I think engines are good to strengthen your openings. That's a good point. I think engines, if you're serious, and now we're not talking beginners anymore. We're talking about maybe advanced players. And if you're serious about competition and serious about opening preparation, then you cannot do it without an engine. I mean, at certain point, regardless of what opening lines you're exploring or preparing or building up your repertoire, you need to at least have an idea of what the truth looks like in that line. So I think engines are definitely a tool that's useful in certain aspects of the game, and definitely opening preparation maybe one of them, even though of course you have to take it with a grain of salt, and know that +1 or -1 may mean very different things depending on the type of position that arises from that opening. But okay. um, um, the, Taking the first part of John John's message, the engine tells me I'm trash at chess. That's another big point, in my opinion, not to use an engine. An engine gives you answers that may objectively be the truth. Some truth that's beyond our reach, even beyond the reach of the world champion. I mean, how can we think that we're gonna learn from that? And it's more, I see an engine more like a mean coach, that mean coach that just tells you you're trash all the time. It tells you you made a mistake here, you made a mistake there, that's wrong, and that other thing is wrong too. You should have done this and that, and you should have done that. But they don't explain anything, right? It's just pointing out your mistakes and telling you how trash you are. Um, that's not a great coach, right? um, Now, what is a good coach, in my opinion, is someone who focus on your actual struggles and challenges as a player. And if you're a 1600 player, your struggles during a chess game are very different from those of a 2200, from those of a 2600, and definitely from those of an engine. So um, I think a good coach is someone who goes along the path with you, seeing what your actual problems are at this point of your improvement/learning path, and tries to focus on those problems and tries to solve those problems, and maybe hopefully help you with that if this person is at least a little bit stronger than you at chess. So yeah, you don't have to have a coach that's a million points, a million rating points above you. That's usually not very helpful. So yeah, like if you expect to learn from what the engine tells you, you're very optimistic. Anyway, let me catch up with the chat. Dragnice, hello. Hey Pepe, I voluntarily started playing 15 plus 10 or 30 plus 0 formats from December onward to become a better player. So I assume you played shorter time controls before that. So I'll review most of the games, but typically just the critical moments where I gained or lose an advantage and learn from it. Right. So two things I have to say about that. The first one is if you're playing slower time controls than before, well done. Kudos for that. That's the way. I mean, uh, I think I think they're like too extreme. I think we're everybody, each of us is in the middle between two extremes. One extreme is the maximum joy. That is, I play chess for fun. I don't want to learn anymore. It's just having fun. And then the other extreme is I only play to learn. I don't want to have fun. I want to learn and improve. And there are people that are certainly very close to those extremes, and each of us is somewhere in the middle. But definitely, if you want to improve and not just have fun, uh, definitely playing slower time controls is uh, very helpful, because let's be honest. Let me decline this challenge. Let's be honest. Given a problem, let's say a chess position, uh, given any problem in life, really, if you actively use your brain to to solve that problem, you will do better if you spend more time. It's as simple as that. So whether doing chess puzzles or playing chess games or doing game analysis, if you spend more time, you're gonna do better. You're gonna draw better conclusions. You're gonna do a better job at it, and therefore it's worth uh, playing. 3 hours of one classical chess game may be worth more than playing 100 bullet games, even though you may play more openings, there may, more moves, more tactical patterns arise, but you didn't do the same kind of effort for those moves. So, yeah, longer time controls. I'm a big fan, especially for learning. And as you keep improving your level, it will come up to a point where you may feel like you can play shorter time controls, and then still do a very similar effort, and that's normal also, because over time you start playing faster and thinking faster and solving chess problems faster. But I think, especially for beginner slash intermediate levels, it's very advisable to play slower time controls, yeah, or even without a clock if you go too extreme. Um, yeah, and then second thing I had to say about that, I review most of my games, but typically just the critical moments where I gained or lose an advantage and learn from it. So we're going back to what an engine says versus what a person would say, or a coach, or your own brain would say. Because I didn't mention that earlier, but when I was doing this metaphor, saying that Stockfish is like a very mean coach, well, if you don't have a coach, some people said in the discussion the other day, if you don't have a coach, Stockfish is uh, your second best option. And I disagree with that. I think your second best option is your own brain, because your own brain is who knows better what struggles you had during the game. So if after the game you turn the engine on and the engine tells you you made 3 blunders and 8 mistakes and 2 inaccuracies, and these are them, then you go look at them, and okay, you analyze whatever you want to analyze, but you focus on those things the engine is telling you. Now, if you go over the game with a coach, like a good coach, let's say, first of all, the coach will not tell you there are these 20 things you did wrong in this game, because that's not encouraging learning. Um, they will probably focus on 2 or 3 things per game. That's probably already enough. And there are going to be things that they see that you're lacking in your game, not necessarily your biggest blunders, according to an engine, because maybe that's not the you know maybe that's not where you are in the learning path. Maybe, okay, like, uh, why would I focus in improving your opening if you're blundering away your pieces after the opening, or why would I focus on this technical end game if you don't see 2 tactics in a row, or uh, yeah, there are priorities in learning. The engine will not tell you that, and so I don't disagree with the part of focusing on critical moments, but I think, in my opinion, that critical moments, you, your own brain, if we're talking about maximizing the learning and the improvement, is your own brain who should tell. I mean, it is yourself who should tell what were my struggles during the game, right? And that connects with another very important point about practical play, which is many times, and by many times I mean 90% of the time, we make mistakes that are completely not connected with the truth, or the objectivity of the position, or the objective evaluation of the position. What I mean is, many times we miss a threat, and we miss a threat because we don't pay attention, or because we're distracted, or because we're focusing our attention on the wrong thing, because we calculated the wrong lines. And many times we make mistakes more connected to the way we think, the way we calculate, the way we make decisions, rather than what what we actually calculate or not. What I'm saying is, chess at its core is a game about making decisions all the time, and some of them are really tough. Like, by really tough, I mean strategical decisions where you have to see what you like more. It's more of a matter of taste than than saying, "Oh yeah, no, here I win a piece, and option A is winning a piece. Option B is losing a rook. Oh yeah, I know this one. This is option A." No, chess doesn't work like that. Chess works like, I have these 20 options. They all look the same to me. I, it feels dangerous, each of them. So I'm gonna try to explore in my mind each of them a little bit of that. I don't know. This one looks better than that one, and then you make decisions sometimes based on precise calculation. And I tell you that up to a certain level, it's never going to be precise, and that's okay. And many of the decisions we do have other factors, not accuracy, but other factors like what we like more, what we think our opponent may dislike more. Um, Sometimes, if you're a very practical player like I am, you avoid certain lines because even though it looks good, it also looks like I'm maybe missing something in my calculation. And it's in the end, it's a game of making decisions, and what will take you from certain level to, I don't know, 200, 400 points above, it's maybe definitely it's going to be some part of getting better at tactics. That's always there, but for the most part, I think it's going to be making better decisions, just making better decisions. And and then you fight with your own brain there, because usually when they tell you something, you don't listen to that. What I mean is, I have this student, right? And I tell him every time, uh, you should castle. Yeah, right? You should castle. And and he keeps delaying castling, then he loses. And okay, maybe you should try to castle next game. Nah, the same. And that happens to everybody. It happens to me as well. We're stubborn. We see Magnus Carlsen delaying castling, or we see, I don't know, we see that it could be a very interesting strategical idea, but we're not ready to use it yet, right? And that's the thing. I think most players, especially beginners and intermediate players, I think they're not ready to use the engine. That's my recommendation. And I went in to a bit of a rant here. I don't even remember what the question was, so let me catch up with the chat. Sorry. Oh yeah, the critical moments. Yeah, again, use your brain. I think your brain is your second best option. If you don't have a coach, your brain is going to be the best coach, because in the game you may struggle with things that you don't read in the chess books, and that happens a lot. Like, uh, depending on the day, you may have one problem or another. But to me, many times I have problems that I'm like, okay. So at this move, I was thinking this, and I thought for 10 minutes, and this is what I thought. Now it's all wrong. So what was my problem? And many times trying to understand why you thought what you thought, uh, instead of just thinking we're machines and oh, I thought the wrong thing, I should have thought this instead. Hey Danny, welcome. So okay, let's try to put some order. I'm gonna go answer by answer. Sorry, question by question in the chat. I really like an engine check for blitz and bullet, so I see if first 5-10 moves were fine. Ah, don't listen when it says the Traxler is trash. Right. Mm-hmm. Fun equals win. How to win, learn. How to learn, don't have fun. Right. Um, yeah, you have to find the balance, I guess. Uh, for example, for me, it's I have a lot of fun with chess. So I play classical chess once in a blue moon nowadays. So lately I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not learning a lot, but that's all right with me. But if I was serious, maybe I would spend more time playing classical chess and analyzing. So I guess it goes. It's a seasonal thing. What I hear Pepe say is that he wants to play an hour, 8 hours game against me, and then analyze for 8 hours. Yeah. Sometimes, if you're the world champion, you might even play an opening is bad. Yeah, because getting your opponent out of theory is good. Yeah, and that goes with the practical aspects of chess. So let's start talking about concrete things. For example, let's go to my own profile. I'm gonna tell you a secret that's not a secret because everybody can see it and everybody sees it when I stream because I play this a lot of times. If you go to my profile and you go to my database, you will see an opening that I play that is complete bullshit. Let me fix my layout because I was streaming on another website yesterday and this got ruined. So I guess this is fine, I suppose. Hopefully. Well, this is not my database. It's still loading. Um, wow, leeches. Okay, so while it loads, um, yeah, or you mentioned the Traxler, John. Why do people play the Traxler if it's +2 for white? Well, because it's a practical approach. It's I studied the Traxler. I didn't, but I'm putting myself in the shoes of someone who plays the Traxler. I didn't study the Traxler, but let's imagine I studied the Traxler. So if I play the Traxler, I'm like, okay, I know it's +2 for you, but I studied it. I know the ins and outs, and you don't. That's my assumption, at least. And so, good luck finding the moves, especially if it's blitz or bullet. Um, so that has some practical value. You definitely shouldn't do it every time. Pirigama, thanks for the follow. Um, but yeah, chess is a game between humans, and so uh, the human aspects and the practical aspects, you need to bear them in mind. And also when you analyze, I bear them in mind a lot. I'm more worried about um, certain things when I analyze them than certain others. And it depends on the day. I'm very competitive, uh, so I want to maximize the points as I score when I play rated games and so on. And so, for example, there are days, or one thing that's important for me in competition is to be mindful of my own skills that day, that specific day. What I mean is, if if I'm playing through the game and I notice that I'm rusty, that I'm making calculations and I'm hanging things in my calculations. For example, something that I should calculate in a minute, it takes me 4 or 5 minutes, or I see that I realize things too late. Like, I'm not saying making mistakes. I'm saying I'm still playing good moves, but I'm realizing that I'm calculating something, and I don't know. After a minute or two of calculating, I realized some threat from the opponent that I didn't see at the beginning, and I'm like, wow, I should have seen that earlier. So sometimes you realize, and that self-awareness is important in competition. And so you're aware of, today I'm rusty. Let's not go for sharp positions, right? So all sorts of things can affect how your strategy that specific day for many reasons, completely out of the uh, objectivity of the game. And you should use them. You should, you know, because you want to win, right? So, am I learning chess? Uh, you know, I, I had mistakes like that. I had mistakes like going for sharp positions in days that I wasn't really seeing much, and then I blundered left and right. And and so when I analyze that game, I'm like, oh, I did this blunder. I should learn from it. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't learn from it because that blunder is obvious. I see the move. I see it's wrong. What is it to learn if I see the move is wrong and I see what the right move is, which is what an engine would tell me. No, what I learned from that is, okay, maybe if today my brain is not functioning, at its best, maybe I should avoid this kind of sharp stuff, right? So I learned to be more mindful of myself. And is that a learning that, is it learning chess? No, I think that's learning competition, but it's still learning. And so for me, that's also a part of the analysis. When I analyze, I try to see all the factors that may uh, score me the points. By the way, I'm going to refresh this page because I think it's not loading. Okay, now it's loading. So this is what I wanted to show you. Let me put my camera above and also smaller so you can see the database. Actually, I'm going to put it over here so in case we need to turn Stockfish on. Yeah, so I think it may happen. So when I play e4 and my opponents answer e5, this is my database, right? So you see I play 2600 times, like a lot of times bishop c4, right? The bishop opening. You've seen me doing this a lot on stream. And now, well, knight c6 somehow is the most common, and then I usually like to play like a king's gambit. But when they play knight f6, which is the main move, right? If we go to the master's database, you'll see knight f6 by far. Let's go back to my database. So knight f6 is the main move. When they play this, I go for d4 mostly, you can see. Even some 7 games with bishop takes f7. Behold, bishop c4 wins by force. Yeah. And here I play d4, which is called the Urusov gambit, or Ponziani gambit. Urusov is what I'm going to do next. Okay. So here e takes d4 is the main move. Also in the master's database. See, it takes d4. And it's a good move. It's the best move. Right. And now we're in a position where, well, you see my database. 478 games in this position I had. And 477 I played e5. So there was one game that I mouse lipped or something. But you can see that I play e5 all the time here. Now, what does the master's database say? e5? Nah. No, not e5. Why not e5? Well, turn the engine on. The engine already likes black in this position, but now if I play e5, it's gonna like black even more. Yeah, I like around -1 because we're losing a pawn, in fact. And yeah, of course, the move is d5. everybody knows. And the four attempts in the master's database, the four were answered with d5, obviously. Um, However, as I said, I play e5 all the time here. I play something that's bad, something that I know it's bad. And it's not like, oh yeah, it's a surprise weapon. You can tell I do it every time. But it's such a sharp, tricky line. This is my Traxler. I don't play the Traxler, but this line is the equivalent to the Traxler in my repertoire, except it's only -1, not -2, right? And I know it's a bad move, and I know with logical play from black, I mean, you can also see how well I score. Because it's a really practical weapon, and I know a lot about this line. So yeah, it, I think in chess you can, well, in many other competitions, you can be super objective and care a lot about the truth, like the ultimate truth, and then okay, then you may be fine using engines. But I think in human play there are many factors that should not be disregarded about being practical, and even a bad move can win you games. Uh, when it is when we're talking openings, obviously, when you play bad moves or moves that are not best, but you have prepared, the purpose is surprising your opponent and most likely knowing more than the opponent and knowing, lots of tricks that your opponent may miss. And of course, you don't want to play into a line that's -5 or things like that. You still play a line that's -1, and you know what's your worst line, and you're prepared. So um, that's a practical tool. Why not? I mean, not everybody. I mean, not no one can study all the openings in the world. So yeah, when it comes to openings, you can do suspicious things and get away with them. Even use them for your advantage. Now, for the rest of the game, in general, you shouldn't be doing suspicious things, but you can still do it. There are certain endgames, and I've proved it. I proved this so many times. Many times, a knight is worse than a bishop objectively, but in practice, many times the knight beats the bishop. So, you know, it happens all the time. There are positions that are theoretically better for one of the sides, but in practice not so easy if you're not an engine. So, what do you prefer? To learn the truth, uh, or to learn what the humans struggle with, and they can struggle with against you? Well, I prefer the latter. Okay, sorry, I keep missing stuff from the chat, so I'm gonna go from since Danny joined. I recently got in the game and I'm Elo 856. Okay, I'm 14 years old. Any tips you can give me? Keep playing. Yeah. Uh, we did a session on chess improvement the other day, but yeah, the main idea when you're a beginner is to keep playing and enjoying, because when you're a beginner, you're in that state where mostly everything you decide to do will help you improve. So if you decide to study openings, you will improve. If you decide to study endgames, you will improve. If you decide to do tactics, you will improve. If you decide to play games, you will improve. If you decide to read books, you will improve. Like, you're in that state, so that's ideal. So do whatever you like the most, and you will keep improving. Eventually, you'll get to a point where um, you've been maybe focusing too much on one thing, and you will feel that you need to start doing other things, but that will happen naturally. In general, playing is what people enjoy the most, so I would recommend keep playing. If you want to accelerate learning, then I definitely recommend analyzing, which is the topic of today. And we can go over how should we analyze games maybe. Um, and the other thing I recommend definitely a lot is tactics, puzzles. It's what gives you the most improvement in the shortest amount of time. Chess wise, understanding, for your chess understanding. There's obviously also endgames that I recommend as well. Maybe not for the most beginners, but endgames at some point you will need them to get better scores. Yeah. Okay. Next, how would you recommend a player to choose an opening in general, just trial and error, or would you say it's better to dig into master games first? Again, depends on your level. If you're a beginner, the other day someone asked, should I play just one opening, stick to one opening, or explore a lot? To me, when you're under, I don't know, I'm gonna say a random number, 2,000 FIDE or 2,100 FIDE or 2,200 FIDE. When until you're advanced enough to care about competition and to care about opening preparation for competition, until that point, I think openings are more like a discovery tool. Like, you can discover ideas, but that you can use in your games or not, but nothing more than that. So yeah, if you feel like exploring, then explore. That's gonna have to happen sooner or later. That you cannot have a repertoire with just one opening, but it's not that important until that point, I think. Um, since I'm a beginner, I have used the engine every time to get better, and yes, I may have learned some bad habits, but at the moment, I think the pros outweigh the cons for me. That's good to know. Uh, you don't know the alternative, though. Translator is fun, blah blah blah. Okay, all my basic habits come from E45 and trying to get a scholar mate. Ouch. I also like to play slow and solid against worse players than me and crazy against better players than me. Wow. Okay, that's interesting, John John. Um, John John is giving one. Yeah, you gave me that line before, John John. Nobody will play like that. Even though you say you had it many times, like people don't play like that. So yeah. If engine says you have a bad position, but opponent has to keep playing only moves, I prefer to not listen to the engine. I've mixed feelings about that because I think it depends pretty much on your level, Ola Hippo. Because, for example, if you're under 1600, then you're completely right. Under, or maybe under 1800, I think you're completely right, uh, because if there are only moves, a weak player won't, will eventually collapse, right? But I'm telling you, above certain level, let's say 2000, 2200, it's completely the opposite. It's actually, if I have only moves, then I'm gonna find them for sure. Like it's completely the opposite. It's, you have to give me choices, so I make mistakes. Because if you just have that big threat and I have only, if I have an only move, I will find it. So yeah, it's kind of. Uh, How would you recommend a player to choose an opening? Oh yeah, we talked about that. Um, so yeah, just your taste. And explore at certain point. Explore openings. That's something I recommend at all levels, to explore openings, because eventually you will see things that you may like more than what you're playing. Standing openings allows beginners to keep up with very good players without getting blown off the board by move 10. Yeah, that's another thing. That's a good point, Behold. I don't know why people like openings so much. I don't know why beginners like open. Like it's the worst part of chess openings in terms of studying and never getting them on the board, and the amount of work you have to do and the very little result. But I know why. I mean, I know all these videos that you can see of wing out of the opening, wing in 10 moves, beat a master in 6 moves. All those, all that's crap, obviously. But that feeds the wrong idea that many beginners have, that you should play. Uh, that the goal of the opening is to beat the opponent, is to win. And I don't think that's the goal of the opening. The goal of the opening is to get to a middle game alive. And if you're good enough or you have a good preparation, then your second goal is to arrive to a middle game that you like. So goal number one, to get to a middle game alive. And goal number two, get to a middle game that you like. That those have been my opening goals for the last maybe 10 years, and I think they didn't change. They're still those. If you start with opening, just stick to first few moves but understand the idea behind them. Right. Then of course, there's different ways of learning anything, but openings, endgames, and everything in chess, you can have guidance or not. So it's very different to learn on your own from learning, from a coach or someone that guides you, tutorials, books, videos, etc. So if you want to learn anything, I think you're, especially the more beginner you are, well, maybe it doesn't depend that much on the level, but yeah, in general, I think the more guidance, the faster your learning is going to be, or at least the faster your discovery is going to be. Because in learning, there are several parts. First is to discover things you don't know. The problem with things you don't know is that you don't know them. I know it's obvious. It sounds obvious, but that's the problem. And right now, if you're starting with chess, for example, there are many, many, many things that you have no idea about chess, and it's very hard that you figure them out on your own, because you don't even know that you don't know them, right? So that's where guidance can give you a lot of shortcuts, can give you a lot of feedback in terms of discovery, of discovering, oh, there's this thing, or there's that idea, or you know that's relevant, that's something I should focus on, etc. um, but then of course there's a lot of work that you have to do on your own, because one thing, in theory and practice are the same, but in practice they're not. So I can tell my student 100 times, you should castle, the student will keep delaying castling. um, you know it's not enough with learning something. You need to put it into practice, and then when you put it into practice, accidents will happen. My student would try castling, he would lose, and then he would complain because I castled and I lost. So it's, yeah, putting things into practice, it's not as easy. And obviously that's a very silly example, castling. Oh my goodness, with the light. um, but but yeah, until you learn something, like, now I'll tell you one thing. uh, I believe, and this is a strong belief, a strong opinion I have, and this is a tricky one. Okay, I'm gonna say a very tricky thing, but I do believe it. I think any person, maybe we should set a lower limit. Okay, that, any person that has been playing chess for at least certain amount of time. But I think any chess player can solve any chess problem if given enough time, and of course if committed to using that time and effort. Um, like even the most complicated puzzle, uh, a puzzle that I can solve in 5 minutes, I think a 1600, if given enough time, should be able to solve it. Maybe in 1 hour, 2 hours, I don't know, whatever it takes until you can figure it out. And that's why I'm insisting. Use more time. Use more time. Your level will go up if you use more time. Um, and what was I trying to connect this with? I lost my thought. I lost. Oh my god, this light. Sorry about that. Some puzzles are too deep for that, I believe. Yeah, I mean, there were some puzzles that took me an hour, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I cannot even imagine how would that be for. This is too much. We should focus. Yeah. Um, but it's like, for example, when you run. I was running one. I was a runner in a past life, and there was a race when it was funny because the guy in front of me had a T-shirt that said something like this in the back. I don't know exact words, but it was something like, um, "I I'm running the same distance as you, just with less time. So it's like I'm doing less effort." Uh, I don't know what the message was like, but it was, the idea that if you spend more time because you're worse, and that happens in a in a race, for example, when you run. If you're the worst runner, you're actually the one doing the most effort, and that happens in chess as well. Of course, if you're a worse player, to solve the same problems, you're gonna have to spend a bigger effort. But that's worth it. That's really worth it. And um, I truly believe that you should do things first. You should do things bad because you do things well, and then you should do them well before you do them fast. So yeah, that's why for beginners I wouldn't focus too much on playing fast, and actually quite the opposite. Um, anyway, I lost my I don't know what I was saying, so let me catch up with the chat again. The longer the game, the less likely it's to work, but I like some fun lines too much. I think my goal is to get to a point where my opponent doesn't figure out how to punish absolutely every move I make. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. To be honest, openings can be really complex, and there are numerous nuances that can change the game very quickly. I gained 150 points when I improved. You can literally play an opening for a year and still be far off as an expert in it. Yeah. Yeah, openings are yikes. So for example, when I analyze a game nowadays, like let's talk about myself. If I have to play a classic, let's talk about a serious game. Okay, let's imagine I'm gonna play a classical chess game on Saturday. What I would do is, first of all, I would prepare my opponent, because I'm that kind of guy who prepares a lot. But if I have time during the week, I'll prepare. On the same day or the day before, the last 24 hours, I'm not gonna prepare anything. If I have any material ready to prepare, I'll go over some lines to see if I remember them, to just commit them to memory. But I don't want to, have the stress of preparing the same day. Um, and I would set in place, all the things out of the board that make me compete better. Like, I'll try to get good sleep, good meals, and so on. Then I would play my game. Opening wise, it depends whether I prepared a lot or not a lot. But to be honest, after the game, when I analyze, I very rarely focus on the opening. like unless there was an accident in the opening. You know, if there was an accident in the opening, maybe yes, maybe I would be like, wow, look at this opening line uh, that my opponent surprised me with, and I didn't know anything about, and I fell for this, and what should have done instead? But accidents, opening accidents, don't happen to me very often. Yeah. Um, yeah. Sorry, G Souths. No, no, not playing today. Oh, and there was this thing about engines that I would like to do. Yeah, about uh, I was talking about guidance and the difference between learning with a coach or learning with an engine. So I wanted to do an experiment, but maybe I just make it up instead of I wanted to actually play one of you, but maybe I just make it up. Yeah, I'm gonna make up an example. So bear with me. Those of you who are strong players already, play us. Okay, maybe I ask you for some moves, but I will require only the weak players to answer. Because if you're gonna play perfect, that's not gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna make up a position here. Give me a second. Let's say we have this pawn here. Let's say black. Maybe, yeah, maybe John John. Maybe you're weak enough. Let's put this king here, and we're black. We're black. We're black. Rude. Oh, actually, yeah. Let me put the black rook over there. Um, la la la. I think this position may work. So the point I'm trying to make is I'm gonna show an endgame that's theoretically a draw, and those of you who have been with me on the endgame sessions we did will already know how to make a draw, of course, because you studied this. We studied this. I'm gonna show an example of how we can lose. I'll take white. Okay. I'm gonna show an example of how we can lose, and then I'll try to analyze. I'll pretend to analyze that with and without an engine. So let's see what we learn. Um, that's the experiment. GM leave zone. Hello. So actually, white to play? Okay, let's say white to play in this position. Or let's say black to play. We're black. Okay, yeah. Let's say here black to play. Go to analysis board. I'm gonna turn the database off and stockfish off. Everything's off, right? So it's black to move. Well, let's not play rook f7, right? Let's not play rook f7. Correct. Rook f6 also risky. Rook f5 also risky. Rook f2 also risky. Wow, the f file is terrible. Okay, so okay, it's black to move, and I'm going to propose the move king e8 because otherwise, this check may push our king away, and we want to stay in front of the pawn, right? Makes sense. Okay, so this is a pretend scenario. Okay, so let's imagine. Actually, I'm going to flip the board. Yeah, let's flip the board. Let's imagine we're playing a game over the board, and we get to this position, right? And I don't know. Let's imagine I'm a beginner. I don't know much about king and pawn and rook versus king and rook. I sort of know this should be a draw, but I don't know exactly. And I definitely don't remember everything that my teacher taught me, right? I don't remember. I always mess up with Philidor, King and Horwich, and all these things. So King e8, Rook a2 looks scary. Okay, let's put it on the board. Let's put it on the board. Let's imagine king e8. It is true that rook a2 looks scary. But on the other hand, the position looks scary. And I don't want my king to be pushed, right? I mean, there may be other drawing moves, but yeah, let's imagine I play this. And let's imagine my opponent plays rook a2, which makes sense. So now, John says king d8 then. Yeah, here we have to make a choice, right? Between king d8 or king f8. Some people are saying in the chat rook d1, but let's pretend I'm playing again the pretend scenario where I'm a beginner, but I'm not as bad as some beginners, and I'm not gonna play rook d1. Because let's imagine I calculate. Wait a second. If I try to block the check with the rook, my opponent is gonna trade rooks, and then I'm gonna lose because my opponent is gonna promote the pawn. Yeah. So let's say I'm calculating over the board. I don't know the theory of this endgame, but I'm calculating over the board. I see this and I say, okay, rook d1 is not an option. So my options are king d8 or king f8, right? So I don't know. King d8 that John proposed seems natural. Keep the king in the center. So let's go with king d8. Let's say I go with king d8 in the game. And now let's imagine my opponent puts me in check. I have to get the king out. And now let's imagine let's imagine white plays rook e8. Okay, just a move. And John says rook e1 seems like a good move. Rook e1 seems like a good move, yeah. There are other moves that may be interesting. Definitely rook e1 is a good move, John. Wait, with the rook, I guess, so keep white's king there. Wait with the rook, so keep white's king there. Oh, right, keep the king cut. Right, that's what you mean. Yeah, that's another option. So rook e1 lets the king out. Rook on the f-file keeps the king here. So let's imagine in the game. See, now is when I'm gonna start picking the wrong choices on purpose. Because again, we wanted an accident to happen, and an accident is gonna happen here. Let's imagine in my game, I decide, yeah, you know what? Let's keep this king cut so the king can't go outside and make progress with the pawn. Because if I go rook e1, maybe the king goes to f6, it's ready to push the pawn, and if I go back, then the king goes to e7 and it's ready to push the pawn. So you know what? Let's keep the king cut. And now white says, okay, I'll play king e7. I'm ready to push e6. And then I'm like, no, you're not making any progress. You can maybe push your pawn to e6, but I'm gonna leave you cut there. So what? What's the deal? And now let's say my opponent plays any move. Let's say my opponent plays rook to... I kind of want to go rook h8. Yeah. Yeah, let's go rook h8. Let's say my opponent goes rook h8. And I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do. Can I keep waiting? I mean, what else to do? Can I keep the rook on the f file and this king still in there? Should I move the king? The king is ideal, but here's the thing, I'm already seeing the problem. The problem is my opponent may go all the way to the 7th, and if I just stay passively, this rook will go behind somewhere. They're gonna do this thing called Lucina that I heard about, the breach, and I think I'm gonna lose this endgame. Where did I go wrong? Okay, let's imagine the game continues and I don't see anything better than waiting. And then my opponent plays rook somewhere. Because king e8, maybe I have some king d6. But let's imagine the rook goes there and it's sort of threatening to push our king. And there's not much we can do, really. So what do we do? Let's say I wait. Let's say they push our king. Why not get the rook to f7 or something? We're black. We're black. We're trying to... The wing is easy for white. We're trying to save this as black. Yeah. And now let's say the king lets room for the pawn to advance. We put it in check. The king goes here. We attack the pawn advances. We say, okay, we're gonna wait and put you in check wherever you go. And white is like, not on the f file. And I'm like, aha, but now I can get closer. And white is like, but I'm gonna promote. And I'm like, no, I'm just in time to protect the square. And white is like, well, I could put you in check, but you know, this is a prettier idea, rook f7. Let's be weak enough. And let's imagine here I resign. I mean, I can try to find a move, but I think it's fair to resign in this position. Everyone agrees it's fair to resign in this position. We're playing hope chess. Okay, let me delete that. Yeah, double checking coming. Double check coming if we just wait with the rook. Otherwise, promotion is coming anyway. Like here, white pre-moves e8 equals queen against all of our moves. So yeah. So okay, we have a game here. We played a bunch of moves, 15 moves, and it felt like a real scenario. It felt like something that could have happened in a game. And okay, we may have some doubts about some of the decisions we made, like the first move, king e8, maybe. We may have some doubts about, what was it, here waiting instead of rook e1. Rook e1 was proposed, and we waited. I'm questioning some of White's decisions. Okay, we may question some of White's decisions, but the fact is, in the end, we lost. And at the beginning, we thought we had the belief that it maybe was a draw. And so this may come from, you know, a longer game and so on, but how would we analyze this after the game? And there's going to be a big difference, I think, if we analyze it with the engine or if we analyze it with a coach. And when I'm saying with an engine, that equals table base, because table base will tell you the same as the engine in this case. So first things first, before I question the engine or table base, which one would you think was the losing move, if any? I feel a doubt about waiting once e6 is playing. Okay, come again. Yeah, of all the moves we played, which one do you think was the mistake or the blunder, if there was any? So with the king on e6, well, the king was on e6 all the time, but I guess you mean here when we waited with rook f2. Yeah, and John says rook f2 as well. Nice. Yeah, that didn't feel like a good strategy. You know, the thing is, when we got here, you suggested rook e1 or rook f2, and I was trying to create an accident, so I went for rook f2. But my first idea when I put the position was to go rook h1, which nobody suggested. Anyway, that would have been interesting as well. So, okay, if we ask the engine and our table base, I think it's gonna agree with you. Can I request a computer analysis of this? No, I just need to go position by position, right? Unless I put it on, yeah, because it's not a game. Okay, so let's turn on engine since the beginning, or no, actually, let's see it with table base. Let's forget about the engine. Engine will tell you the same, and table base is better for endgames. Okay, initial position is a draw. King e8 is losing. Oh, oof. I didn't even put the right example. I should have started with the rook on e1. Yeah, okay, so we're lost. And now look at this. Rook e8 was a blunder, and rook h1 is the only move that draws. What do you think about that? Depression. Rook f2 loses, same as rook e1. And rook h1 was the only drawing move. Right. I knew rook h1 was a draw. The problem is the point I was trying to make would have been better with the rook on e1 at the beginning. It's so easy to understand this, right? And well, the rest is losing. Yeah, the rest there was nothing really. I think there are no mistakes. Just yeah, the rest is the rest. So, uh, yikes! It's a pity that I was trying to make a point on this position, and I needed the rook on e1 for that because I need to be ready for Kling and Horwich. So, if you don't mind, I'm gonna make my point from a very similar position. So the exercise we did was not quite accurate. So, but anyway, now that you had a peek, now that you had a peek at this rook h1 idea, you'll be able to defend it properly now. Let me bring this to another analysis board with black to play. Did you learn something about this endgame by looking at the database? I'm sure you did. Now, let's imagine in this same position. Well, we had the position with the rook on f1, so you don't know if this is a draw or not. But now we can't go rook h1 because we're checkmated. So we have to go king here, check. You know what? I'm gonna mess with you. No, I'm not gonna mess with you. No, yeah, no, let's leave it like it was. Don't mess with us. Yeah, 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 sorry. So let's imagine this. Let's imagine you go king d8. We're gonna do the same as we did, just for demonstration purposes. And now here, yeah, we can't go rook h1. And what can we do if we can't go rook h1? Let's imagine king c6. Oh, right, because in the game I played rook e8. Sorry. Yeah. That's my point. Yeah. Okay. So let's do it as in the game. Yeah. Let's play rook e8. Sorry about that. Our opponent doesn't know that they can win with rook h8 maybe, so they play rook e8. And now that we know this rook h1 move, because we just saw it in the database, we're gonna play it, and we're gonna make a draw. And now let's imagine our opponent plays king f7. Why not? What do we do? Maybe this is a better example. Hopefully it is. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna stretch my legs. King d7. Yeah, it's very natural, right? So let's say we play king d7. And now let's say white plays e6 check. We need to move the king. King d6 seems like the most natural, or we can go back to the c file. Let's say king d6, and let's say white puts us in check. And now this is starting to get uncomfortable, because if we go back, I mean, if we go all the way there, this pawn may just promote. But to be honest, if we go to the c file, the pawn may just promote as well. So yeah, at this point it feels like we blundered. It feels like we shouldn't be losing this, and it seems like we're losing this. And so I don't know, in the game, let's imagine it's fine. Let's imagine we try king c7. I don't know, what else can we try? King e5. Okay, well, we'll try king e5. And let's say our opponent pushes the pawn, and here I think it's a good moment to resign, because I don't see any ideas. Or maybe we throw a couple checks. Maybe we throw a couple checks, and here, well, we see very clearly we see that rook h8 check, king g7 doesn't lead anywhere. So we may try for something like king f6, and then in the game our opponent plays rook d6 check, promote knight. That would be a draw, no? And yeah, we're in trouble, but we're trying to at least get a rook versus queen. Let's say if promotes to a queen, we can grab the rook. We can't check and take. Oh, actually we can, yeah. So okay, we're sort of preventing this, but of course white is in no rush, and it's saying, you know what, I'm gonna get that queen on the next move. And we're like, not if we check you. And white is like, what were you saying? Yeah, now we have to go here or to the other side, but king f7 and promotion is happening. Our king is out of the game. And yeah, I think let's say here we resign. So what would you say it was the mistake? Again, what would you say it was the mistake? Now the rook is on e1, and now we have the extra piece of intel that in this position rook h1 is a draw. because we saw it earlier in the database and we played it. So we know this precise position is a draw, but maybe in the game we didn't know this. Was rook h7 instead of king d6 the idea? And that's why rook h1 before. Rook h7 instead of king d6. Instead of king d6, when we play king d6 is because we're in check. So you mean like here instead of king d7, rook h7? Yeah, that makes some sense. There's king g6 here though. Which could be an interesting line also to play out. But okay, let's imagine. Let's not analyze it yet. Let's imagine you just played this endgame in a real game and you lost. And you're like, darn it, I played such a great game and that endgame looked like a draw. Let's analyze it. I thought you give check from behind until the pawn advances to them from the side. Yeah, that's the Philidor defense that you cannot apply here, unfortunately. That would be awesome if your rook started in one of these files. But being behind the pawn or one of the adjacent files, there's no way you can put this king in check or control the third rank. So unfortunately, that's the easiest defense, but you can't do it in this position. So anyway, we're not gonna study this endgame now because I'm trying to make a point about analysis and analysis with engine or table base, which is the same in this case. So let's say you analyze this with table base, and table base or engine says this is a draw. This is a draw, and this position is a draw. Perfect. And this is a draw. It's perfect. And king d8 or king, you can see table base, right? Yeah. So here both moves draw, king d8, king f8. We knew rook d1 was not an option. Okay, all good. King d8, rook check, king c7, all fine. It's all a draw. Now rook h1, the only move that draws. And we found it in the game. Yay, we're the best. Now king here. And yes, rook h7 check is there as a draw. Rook h5 is there as a draw. King d7 is losing. So king d7 is our mistake. But let's continue. Let's see if there are more mistakes. Unfortunately, white played the only winning move. Like, white was a good player. And yeah. Darn it, white is finding the only moves. Yeah. All right. So some of you had the well, I think Ola Hippo said it correctly. Rook h7 here was, and if you analyze this with an engine or with table base, it will tell you that rook h7 was the move here. I don't believe promoting to a knight was not winning. No, it was a draw, right? Which position did you say it? Here. Yeah, it's a draw. Juan, you have to review your endgames. Rook and knight versus rook is a draw. Especially with, I mean, there are only, like, the only hope you have to win is if the opponent's pieces are bad. In this position, your pieces are bad. Like, white's pieces are the one on the side of the board. Yeah, it's completely a draw. But yeah, rook and knight versus rook is a draw. There are a couple tricks that you must know, but okay. So let's imagine you try to learn endgames from this game, and And so you learn that in this specific position, rook h1 is the only move. So in our first attempt, we didn't even find this move. And now on our second attempt, we found rook h1, but then we didn't find rook h7 here, for example. So you learned here, oh yeah, no, in this position, in this very precise position, I have to go rook h1. And this is a very particular position, by the way, the rook on e8. And you know, if you look at this position, let's say you're analyzing the endgame and you look at any other move like rook g8, then you see completely different drawing moves. Like rook h1 is not a drawing move. Now rook e2, rook e3, and rook e4 are the only drawing moves. So you're like, I'm not really learning from this endgame. Like, why rook h1 after rook e8, but why here not rook h1 and instead keeping the rook on the e file and not moving the king at all? So how do you learn endgames from this particular game? Um, well, the answer is, in my opinion, uh, that it's very hard when you don't have any guidance, but also the guidance from table base or from the engine suck. Like, it won't tell you anything. It will only give you objective truth, and that doesn't help for concepts. And so here's the thing. If you ask a coach, I don't know if anyone strong in the chat, um, or do we only have weak players in the chat? No, no, I mean no offense, but I think any strong player. If you ask, what do you mean? I think if you ask any strong player, like you bring this endgame to a coach, to your coach, or to any strong player, and they will all point out to the same move. They will all point out to the same move. And it's not the final mistake, let's call it. This is the final mistake. Like you didn't find rook h7 in this position, and or rook h5. So king d7 is maybe obviously losing because of e6 check, but other moves are not so obviously losing. Like for example, what happens if we wait on the h file with rook h2? Then e6 doesn't win. Let's still look at table base. But what wins is rook g8 or rook e6 or rook f8. What is that? Do you think it can be helpful playing endgames like this versus engine with both colors to see how to convert, defend them? No. No. I think it's useful. I mean, it depends on the endgame, of course. This particular endgame is so complicated that I think it makes no sense to practice against an engine or table base unless you study first the concepts and the ideas, like the different techniques. Like someone mentioned in the chat, the third rank defense, or the Kling and Horwich defense, or the long side defense, or first rank defense. All those things, if you study them, then it may be a good idea to practice against the engine and then analyze it so you understand the ins and outs. If you don't know any of these concepts, what you're seeing right now, what we're seeing right now on the database is everything looks so random. Like moves that are winning, if the rook is on e1, then they're not when the rook is on f1. If the rook is on e8, like it all looks so random. Like, you know, why is rook f1 not holding the position? Or rook back to e1. Why are those moves losing? Like, what's wrong with this check? Well, king e7. We saw that on the first attempt on this line, by the way. Why rook h5? Rook h5 allows e6. But then suddenly there's rook h7. Oops, sorry. And so what? why is this a draw? And for example, any other moves on the h file, they don't allow e6 because rook h7 as well. Rook h8, outstanding move. But again, rook g8. This is winning. But you know, when you start analyzing like this, everything's random, and you're like, oh yeah, because rook g8 is winning. But wait a second. What's the difference with rook h5? That we attack the pawn. Okay, that you can understand. But for example, rook e6. Let's imagine you say, oh wait, rook h2, then rook e6 wins, right? According to the database, rook e6 wins, which is a move that I mean. uh, and then you're like, but what is the difference if I go rook h5, rook e6? Why is this not winning? And so on, and so on, and so forth. Like the little differences, they may seem random, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper in the lines, and it keeps adding more randomness. Maybe eventually you see something that you see clearly, but at the beginning it's like very hard to grasp why one thing wins while the other doesn't. So going back to my point, an engine or table base will tell you rook h7 was necessary here, or rook h5, and king d7 was a blunder. But yeah, if you lose to some of the other moves, it may be even harder to see. But again, any coach, any strong player will tell you that back here you did the wrong thing. And this is very similar to when I tell my students castle in the opening castle. Because they may say, but you can get away with not castling. Magnus does it. Many GMs do that. Sometimes I do it, right? I don't castle and I win. And I'm like, that's not a good justification. You should still castle. You're not ready not to castle. So here's the thing. In this particular endgame, there's one thing called third rank defense. We talked already, we can't do it here. But there's another thing called long side defense. That's very simple to do if you have the king on the short side. You should follow rules until you're good enough to know when not to follow them anymore. Yeah, exactly. First, you need to know the rules and practice them before you can break them. So, yeah, in this position, any player, any strong player, I promise you, any GM, you put them this position in front, and they will tell you King F8 is the move. Like the only psychos that would go for King D8 are players who know everything about this endgame, like all the ins and outs, and they will go Rook H1, Rook H5 only for fun. They will find all the only moves to draw in that position for fun. Um, but those are psychos. Really, any GM will go to F8 here. Now, if you ask the engine or table base, they will tell you, no, it's fine. King D8, King F8, doesn't matter. It's a draw either way. But I'm telling you, if you go to D8, it's like putting a bullet on a gun and try Russian roulette. It's like, why would you take the risk? So that's the thing. This kind of thing that any coach can tell you, any strong player can tell you, any player that's stronger than you can tell you, no, you should always go to the short side so you have the long side to defend with the rook. Very simple concept. You go to the short side, and now let's say white does the same. Well, whenever it comes to a position where this pawn advances enough that white is ready to make this breach to win, you're gonna start checking on the long side and it's gonna be a draw. It's like the simplest concept. And okay, maybe it's not the simplest concept, but what I mean is it's a concept. And you knew that, right? John, you knew that. Maybe, or maybe he's kidding. But the point is, many times the engine and table base will tell you there's absolutely no difference between these two moves, and any human that knows about the position will tell you there is a big difference about those two moves. So yeah, that's my point, that you need to at least take whatever the engine and table-based say with fine grain of salt, because it's definitely very hard to learn from it. Very hard to learn from it. I wanted to do another experiment, but I don't know if it's gonna work. I wanted to find the Dudagiri game, Dudagiri from last month, Mating 11. That's it. I'm kind of interested how to become one of those psychos that play King D8. But that's the thing about learning. You should first learn the rules. Then you should learn how to break them. So again, please, castle in the opening. Please don't play the Traxler. Don't play King D8 there. Just, yeah, I mean, why would you do that? Take that back. Okay, here's the game. I need the PGN. One sec. Oh wait, is it in chess games? There it is. Yeah, I knew I already, probably I already downloaded it. Yes, this is it. Okay, so let me download it. And we're gonna import it on. So this is a real game that was played, I think, last month or 2 months ago, maybe. I think it was last month. I'm not gonna take that back. So I'm gonna import it on Lichess, and maybe, just maybe, it works, maybe it doesn't. I know this happened when the game happened, but maybe now it's fixed on Lichess, so we'll see. Maybe I make a point or maybe I don't. So I'm gonna import game and I'm gonna request a Genjing analysis from this game. Request a computer analysis, import game. Okay. Oh, it's fixed. Darn it. Yeah, I guess I will not make a point. I will not make a point then. That's a pity. Schrodinger's point. Yeah, I guess I didn't make a point there. Okay, this example is not worth it anymore. and now you're kind of wondering what I was trying to say. Yeah, Jan Duda played a perfect game. I mean, this pick is wrong on the computer analysis, but it's not wrong enough to make a point for me. Because when it says plus 4.5, it's not plus 4.5. I mean, let's be honest. There's no way that in a position with plus 12, black makes a move, black, and the position goes to plus 4, right? That's 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 wrong. that's there's there's no move that black can do that can make the evaluation of the position better for black. Uh, so okay, that's wrong, but that's not wrong enough. That's not wrong enough for me. Isn't it because it calculates X moves ahead? Yes and no. Yes and no. Because you would think that if it sees it for white, it will see it for black. So every move was calculated at different depths. You can tell from here. Because rook g7 check is actually a mating 11, a forced mating 11, even if it says plus 13. King takes g7 is still mating 11. It should be. f6 should be mating 10, and so on. And from this point, king h6, you see mating 9. Mating 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, and so on. So it is forced mate, but instead of mating 10, it's cis plus 14. Instead of mating 10, it's cis plus 4. And instead of mating 11, it's cis plus 13. Now, the funny thing is the first time I requested a computer analysis of this, I got something even worse that I have posted in a forum, so I think I can probably find it. Give me just a second. Here. I have a screenshot, so one second. There it is. Yeah, you can see the screenshot, right? So yeah, this was the first time I analyzed it. At this point here, it was marked as a blunder, actually. And that was the move rook g7. So the move I was just saying that was mating 11. Hey, Noir Viking. And you can tell from the Stockfish client side that it's mating 11. It was marked as a blunder because it was only, I don't know, +4 or something like that. It was analyzed as +4 instead of mate. The same as the next move. Here in the current analysis, it is +4, this one, instead of mating 10. This should be mating 10, right? I mean, I'm going to run Stockfish and verify that it's mating 10. It says +4, +7, +7.5, +9.4. Come on, Stockfish, you can do it. It is mate. It is mate. You can see it. +9.7. It's still depth 13. 14 now. It's client side, so it's going slower than it should. My computer is now going crazy. So +12.6. It will eventually find the mate. Come on, Stockfish, you can do it. Depth 15. Still, okay. +14. Conclusion, get a better PC. Well, my CPU is now like this. If I wasn't streaming, this would take a few seconds, I guess, to get to depth 20, 21. But okay, we're getting there. So server side, you have the same issue of the this horizon effect, and the server analysis is run in with certain constraints, so you can have the analysis on a decent amount of time since you request it. So usually the client side Stockfish is better than the server side. I mean, not better, but you can let it run for more time and get a better evaluation. So it's on +17 already, and it will eventually find the mate in 10. I mean, it's a mate in 10. Come on, you can do it. I can see it already. Yeah. So, never trust a Stockfish. That's the conclusion. Oh my god, Stockfish, you can do it. Never trust a Stockfish that hasn't finished calculating. But when does it finish? When it says checkmate, what if there's no checkmate? So yeah, it was funny because in the in the real game, the best checkmate sequence was played. I mean, Duda played a brilliancy, found a forced checkmate in 11. That was the previous move, rook g7 check. And the computer analysis said that move, the one that leads to forced mate, was a blunder because it was only +4 and there were like +9 moves. But it's actually the best move. So even even in a circumstance where you would think that the engine should excel, in this case, a human was better. So yeah, I thought that was funny. But obviously, if you give the engine enough time and resources, it will find the mate. Now I'm struggling to give them those resources because my computer is burning its CPU. I can almost smell it. Um, but yeah, that's one point. If you analyze your games on Leeches or other websites, and you do it like for quick feedback about what your mistakes were, bear in mind that whenever you go there to analyze them, you should run Stockfish client side and give it time, uh, because you can tell already there's a difference from +4 to +17, and okay, I mean this is a forced checkmate. It's not like other kind of position. How to know that the analysis is not finished? Well, there's a maximum. So you see here depth 16 out of 22. That means that if you reach 22, you can stop because it's not going to go further. Uh, has he given up? It's still 16. No, it's still working, but each new level takes more time. This is like theoretically it's like exponential. Um, if I turn the stream off, it's gonna take a few seconds to get to level 22. But right now my CPU is super slow. But yeah, no, usually the plus can increase depth. I think so. Yeah, yes, you can increase depth. Yes, but I don't need to do that right now. It's already it's already too much for my computer to go from 16 to 17. It's stuck at 16 for long. Yeah, no, it's not stuck. I tell you, it's calculating. It's just taking too long. And if it reaches 17, it's going to take forever to reach 18 because it's going to be more and more nodes. Yeah, it's not stuck. It's just taking too long. Yeah, the computer is just choking. Uh, so, okay, fun stuff. I think maybe on 17, I don't know at which depth it will see the mate. But I suppose it's 20, so I think we're screwed. Yeah, depth 99 until next stream. Yeah, um, tough luck. But checkmate, hey, fellow Chessable employee, what's up, buddy? So, um, click the question mark. Why do you want me to click the question mark? Anyway, my point it's still valid from the server side analysis. Um, so you see a plus 12 plus. Oh, click the plus. But why would I click the plus? If it's not getting deep enough. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, plus 12, plus 4, plus 14, mating 9. Mating 9. And okay, I'm going to go to that position. So this is mating 9 with knight g4. And actually, that's the only move that makes sense. And you can tell, other moves are like really bad. Uh, but the previous move that leads to that, f6 check, it's marked as plus 14. Now, if I go there, immediately it sees it's mating 9. Why? Because it knows king h6 is mating 9. It already analyzed that. Hey, Beta, thanks for the follow. So instead of going super deep, now we're going to go backwards. Now here, only a few, sorry, that's not it. Only a few legal moves and sudden death, yeah. And king h6 is mating 9, and we know it, or the analysis knows it, because it was the game actually. In the game was played that, so it's already analyzed, king h6, and the other are mating 4, mating 3, mating 2, too easy to calculate. So now I'm going to go back to king takes g7, which is marked as plus 4.5. Oh, sorry, you're not seeing this. My camera is too big. Yeah. So I'm going to go now back to this plus 4.5. And knowing that f6 check is mating 9, I go there. And no, this one's still going to take time because there's queen h5, unfortunately. There's another move that makes sense here. uh, but I mean, Stockfish, come on. Or knowing that f6 is mating 9, this should be easier. You should know that this is not plus 17. Yeah, this is unfortunate because I think server side you may have this table hash, but I don't know if client side it's being... There it is. There it is. Okay, it didn't take that much. Okay, okay. I was just complaining and, and it did it actually fast because it's at depth 18 still. So it found the mate in 10 with f6 check. Nice. And it's smart here. It already updated. So can we go now to rook g7? Do you think now that it knows that king takes g7 is forced mate in 10, it will find rook g7 as mate in 10? It should. It should, because there's only 2 legal moves. There you go. Instant mate in 10. There's only 2 legal moves. Now, will it see the mate in 11 on the previous move? There you go. Instant. Moral of the story, complain long enough. No, moral of the story, yeah, we discussed about this on the Slack, on the Liches 4545 Slack. This is one of the reasons why you should always go backwards with the engine, and why that's the way server side is done on Liches. It goes backward so that you have already calculated what happened in the game, and that can help you. In this case, it helps a lot, like instant instant depth. The problem is somehow the server side was not doing that, because it would have seen the mate in 11 instead of that. Anyway, so now you can see the mate in 11, forced mate starting with rook g7, that Stockfish didn't see at the first time. So I thought that was funny, because for once a human saw something that wasn't that easy for the computer. Helping the engine is so hard, glad it learned. Yeah, so of course it doesn't really matter if you have many winning moves, and you have many winning moves. White is like super winning here, and in your games you're not supposed to play like Giri or Duda, of course, so don't aim for perfection. 1 win per game is enough. So yeah, but the point that I'm trying to make is, when you analyze with an engine, well, at least understand how an engine works, and understand that they're going to give you some version of the truth that in most cases it's not going to be even useful for you. That's my point. And this is just a fun example for that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it. I think I'm gonna leave it here. But I'm open to maybe some final questions, 5 or 10 minutes of any questions you want to ask about. I don't. Yeah, these sessions are a bit weird to me. I don't know if there's a lot of value in them, but I keep getting good feedback about them. So I don't know. Yeah, let me know any questions related to the topic if you want. Pepe's point is that he's better than Stockfish. Oh, actually, what was it? There's so I have this. I like to congratulate my students, and I'm thinking of creating a badge that says better than Stockfish, and I'm gonna give them that badge whenever they find a way to torture their opponent instead of playing the best moves. Like, you have a mating one, but instead you grab their queen, something like that. To me, that's better than Stockfish. It's not just winning the game, but also making sure that you're psychologically winning the next game against that same opponent. You know what I mean? So I think there are ways in chess to be better than Stockfish, and all those ways have to do with human aspects of the game. Winning in a style, yeah. Also that sometimes there's there's the right way and there's the tal way. So yeah, or sacrificing your pieces and be left with a knight and a bishop and mate with those. Maybe. Uh, yeah. You know what? Um, um, I'm a very conservative person. Not, I'm not talking about politics here. What I mean is, I don't like my students sacrificing pieces. Torture, internet disconnect, you lose. Yeah, that's the risk. You gotta take the risk. you you have to ride the wave. Yeah, it's karma may get back at you sometimes. It happens. With this advantage, he wouldn't risk a full point with oops wrong calculation. It's insane how sure he. Yeah, I mean, what Duda did here was impressive. I mean, Rook G7. It's like it was great, and what was even greater was I think it was at knight G4 check. I think it was here when you could see his face and his smile. You could see he saw all the line all the way through. He was enjoying. Yeah. Oh, I remember the point I was trying to make 2 hours ago. I guess it's too late for that. Yeah, because I was trying to make a point about learning. I'll leave that for another day. We'll talk more about learning. It's a very wide topic. Yeah, guys. Thanks for thanks for being here. I mean, it was. Did he find the mate? Yes, yes, he found the mate. Noir Viking. That's yeah. Rook G7 here. Beautiful. Yeah. Today's puzzles. Yes, at depth 18. Oh, you mean Stockfish? Hey, breakfast. I thought you meant the player. Yeah, at depth 18 it found the mate, but we had to help Stockfish a little bit, going back and forth. Um, let's see what's today's puzzle on Lichess. Thanks for the rook endgame. I'm scared after learning something. I didn't mean to teach anything today. I'm sorry about that. It was. Um, don't you have 3 Chesercombe puzzles? I do have 3 Chesercombe puzzles. Yay! Sorry, that was too fast. But no, we're not going to go there. Because I would have to change the title of the stream for just 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry, John. Tomorrow maybe. Um. So yeah, I mean, what else to say? Yeah, let's wrap up and let's just sum up my advices. I strongly suggest to at least try the exercise of not analyzing with an engine, because I think it's very productive for your brain. And when we talk about certain aspects of the game um, that have to do with making decisions and how you think during the game, how you make decisions, what your struggles are during the game. I think the second best option to a coach is not Stockfish. The second best option to a coach is your own brain, because it's the one that will ask questions as opposed to an engine that only gives you answers. So, yeah, you're the best to know what your struggles are during a game, what your doubts are. If you're maybe too beginner, maybe everything is a question to you, but that's all right. That's all right. You make your own theories, you will come up with your own wrong answers, and that's okay. That's part of the learning. Uh, you don't need to have, uh, you know, all the right answers on a higher level than world champion for you to learn at that level. In fact, I think that's counterproductive. So yeah, that's my piece of advice for, especially for beginners, is uh, there's nothing wrong with using engines. They're a very useful tool in certain scenarios, but only in certain scenarios, and you have to know how to use them and you have to understand them. So my piece of advice: I don't think you're ready yet. The same as you're not ready to delay castling, you're not ready to break certain principles. First, you should try to discover and practice certain things for yourself, and then maybe you can start breaking some rules and going further. So that's my piece of advice. And then, in general, as for analyzing games, I would recommend writing down things, because there's so many insights I've found over time, like when when reading my analysis from games, like for from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I read my analysis and the things, the struggles I had, and I'm like, whoa. Like, I see the same game now, and I interpret the game completely differently. So my understanding is different. I see that, but it's also nice to see over time the struggles you have and how you overcome them. And writing down things is interesting. It will help you over time, but it also can help a coach if you ever get a coach. Hello, Omaritani. I'm sorry, we're closing here. We're wrapping up. Um, so, oh, The Test of Time. That's a great book. Yeah, because again, I think chess is about making decisions. Of course, there are many aspects of the game, but I think that's a very important, a core one. Uh, Making decisions, decision making, and we're really bad at it. And over time, we improve, but it takes too many struggles, and our brain is stubborn, and you're told, don't do this, don't do this, and you keep doing that, you keep doing that. And sometimes it takes you writing down things and looking them time later to understand certain things, sorry. And I learned some things from old games slash old annotations that I wasn't ready to learn when I played the game. And that's all right too. So, yeah, I think that's a good advice, to write down your analysis, and also focus your analysis on your real struggles. Forget about what an engine say. O sea, I mean, don't go hit the button, learn from my mistakes, and say, "Oh, these 3 moments of the game were the critical moments where I made a mistake." No, don't do that. Just first think for yourself. Where did you struggle? At which points of the game you had a problem that you thought, oh my god, how do I get out of this? Or when did you feel like it was a critical moment? Or what was your biggest struggle? Because maybe, I don't know, maybe at that moment it was really, really, really complicated for you, but maybe by accident or not, or for whatever reason, you played a good move, then the engine will not complain. But it was still an important moment for you to learn from, right? So I struggled when I had to move a piece. So yeah, that's my point. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Don't let me tell you what to do. Don't let the engine. Don't let a coach. your brain is the main source of knowledge for your next step in the learning path. Um, learn from your mistakes makes me believe I could easily fix my game. Yeah, like that's it, right? Okay, guys, thanks for being there. I'm wrapping up, and tomorrow we have the Bundesliga. Oh, tournament starting tomorrow. Good luck, Kudo. Good luck with that. I'll send you good vibes. Um, interesting. What tournament is that? Is it the Vacancy? Delftse Schach site? Okay, I'll check that out. Thanks. That was full in October. Oh, I knew there was one important tournament now in the Netherlands, but I just said a random name just in case I got it right. Okay. Well, good luck with that. Um, yeah, tomorrow I'll see you for Bundesliga, and yeah, have a nice rest of your day, guys, and see you later. Bye bye.